since I got this series off of Amazon and I read it, there's a lot of things I've been thinking about and a lot of similarities I've seen from like other manga, anime that this manga follows. And I'm talking about Destiny Lovers. And yes, this is a very, very, very wild manga. So if you're not into wild manga, just know it's very wild and it's very borderline something else. Like it's, bro, like it's literally there. Like, bro, it's literally like this close from being something else that it's not. And like it's crazy. Like it's like it's riding that line like super thin or wherever that saying is. I don't remember what it is, but just know it's very super close to being something else. But what this manga really reminds me of is Prison School, but Prison School that's hornier 10 times, because this manga is like super horny and like it's wild. Like there's so many like comparisons to Prison School that I see, especially like the first arc, and even like I guess you could technically say one of the last few arcs of this, because I've only read up to all the manga volumes that I bought, because I'm not by the catch up online, because I'm like, yo, I don't care that much. I'll just buy the volumes when they come out, because there's only 2 more volumes left. But yes, there's so many similarities I see from the main character. Like the main character of this literally looks like Kyoshi from Prison School, like a lot. There's a lot of the females that look the same. There's like one that kind of is like a thicker Hana that's in this. The vice president and student council president, I don't really see them. I see people with their personalities in there, but that's like in most anime they have those type of personalities. But yeah, there's kind of similarities. There's just some of the characters, like the warden here, the way they adore her is the way they in Prison School they adore like the what is that called, the shadow president, the shadow student council president, whatever they're called, whatever, the shadow president. Yeah, that one, that's the way they adore the wardens, the way they adore it, like in that. So I see that there's somebody that kind of looks like Gatchet in a type of way. Of course, there's a fat guy just like in Prison School. There's a delinquent just like in Prison School. So yeah, there's a lot of similarities, but you know where this goes different? Just know there's one key thing that makes this very, very different. One, they're not in school, and 2, guess what the girls are trying to get? So they're collecting virgins and they have to get their virginity. So yeah, that's the reason why they're in this prison that they're in. And just know it's called Destiny Lovers for a reason. There's a reason why they have to do this. But just know the story of this is very crazy and all over the place, and it has some stuff that kind of relates back to us, kind of in a way. It has some stuff that can relate to like video games and stuff like that, because of some of the reason why it is. So just know right now I'm about to go into spoilers. If you ever wanted to read this, I mean, if you really wanted to read this, you probably are very into this stuff. If you ever were, just know I'm about to spoiler, because I got to go over this. So Destiny Lovers is basically about this story where you follow the main character. Like one day he's with his friend, and like his friend's like super like hurt and feeling sick, so like he wants to go home and all of that. So as the main character's going, he gets kidnapped. He wakes up in this prison surrounded by like 5 or 6 other males. They're just in prison and like nobody knows. No. Cap, I just capped. He doesn't do that just yet. No, he wakes up in a chair by himself, and some hot girl ends up coming into his the place where he's staying at, because he's strapped to a seat like tied. So yeah, you see I got that story messed up like that. Hey, I was capping at the beginning, but yeah, that happens, and then he finds out the girl's trying to take his virginity, but he's resisting as much as he can, because like he promised his best friend a long time ago when she was like 4 or 5 years old or whatever. They made this promise before she left, which is like wild, because it's like, bro, how you gonna remember that? What if you never even saw her again, bro? Yeah, it's anime and manga. You know how they be. You know how manga is. They have them stupid little promises that don't make sense at all. Like at all. Because like, bro, you're not going to remember something that little and like actually keep it. Because who knows if you're actually going to see that person. But yeah, all that happens. He resists. Then he gets thrown into that prison. And that's when he meets everybody. He tries to figure out why he's there and all that. A lot of shenanigans and different stuff happens. They try to force their way to get virginity out of them, have sex and all that, take their virginity, stuff like that and all that. That's what the guards, because there's like guards and they find all these different type of ways, and there's a lot of wacky, wild stuff that happens in between that. And maybe somebody does lose their virginity, maybe they don't, but the guys, they try to fight against it, because they realize that the all the officers there, the wardens and the guards and all that are all these women are just trying to get the virginity for a certain reason, and they're like, yo, we need to protect this. And they find out everybody there is virgins too. So yeah, it's interesting. There's more to it. So this is like a big spoiler, because this spoils like half the series. So kind of does. So the main reason why they're trying to take their virginity is because in the world you have these scientists that are messing with like this virus and all that, and they make this virus that goes crazy, like whenever like men like actually, there's like a man that actually had sex already, and like it turns into like these big like bioweapons. So that makes me think of like Resident Evil type of stuff, or kind of in our own world, because a pandemic breaks out and somehow that virus gets into the world and affects all the males that have already had sex, and turns them into these big old weird mutated monster things that are just like on the hunt and like crazy. So what this organization does is they end up like, oh, we need to take all the virgins in the world and have them get and make all these girls and have sex with them. That way we can make these babies, and these babies will be immune to this virus. So it's basically like that. It's a type of thing like that's basically what this whole story is really about, bro. It's basically just like, bro, they're trying to take the virginity because they're trying to save the world. So I mean, that's a noble thing, but at the same time, it's just like they're forcing them to do it without telling them or explaining them. And like when the people do get explained to them, they get sent off to this island in this other arc. But yeah, just know this is very wild, bro. It's very wild. This video is probably gonna get demonetized. That's how wild this series is. But yeah, it's interesting though. It is very interesting because it's like you gotta think about it. That is like if something like that actually happened, where like a pandemic, like a crazy pandemic or epidemic happens, and like it causes like half the world to turn into these big old monsters, stuff like that, kind of like a zombie apocalypse. That's kind of what this is, but just with monsters. And all the females don't get turned into monsters, but it's just the males that have already had sex, which is like, it's very interesting that happened. It's like weird. And I guess also they're working on a vaccine and all this other stuff in the story. I mean, this part of the story is done. I think there's going to be another series later on, but so far what I've read, it's very interesting, bro. They do go all the way. They do some stuff. They do some stuff. When I tell you, they get down. There's some bonus chapters that happen at the end of like each volume. That's nuts. Even in the chapters, they do some wild stuff, bro. They do a lot of wild stuff. I was reading this and I was like, oh, each time it kept getting more and more. And I was like, oh, how is this not something else? Like I was thinking the whole time, like, how is this not something else? Like the whole time I was reading it, because it was like, bro, how close it was to being something else was like this close. Like it was this close. But hey, I actually enjoyed this series. Well, especially like once you figure out like what's actually happened, that's when it starts to get interesting. You're like, oh, and like especially like the cliffhanger I got left on in the last volume I was at. I think the new volume is coming out next month. Like I said, I'm not reading this online because I'm not that invested into it. It's just like an interesting buy when I buy it. But yeah, Destiny Levels is very wild. But there's a lot of stuff compared to Prison School, because like there is a festival arc. Like if you've read Prison School, the manga, just know, you know that long ass festival arc. There's a festival arc in this too, and they have there's like yeah, I don't even want to talk about that. Just, you know, like the, what is that that night thing they have, or whatever you call that, like when you're holding somebody up. I forgot exactly what you call that. They have that in this series too. So like, that's where this is like so many comparisons I really see, but it's just like 10 times hornier, and it's not as funny as Prison School. There's funny moments, but you know, Prison School is like really funny because like, and like, you know, Prison School is drawn amazing. Like if you've not read Prison School, read Prison School. But yeah, hey, Destiny Lovers, it's interesting, but it's very wild. I wasn't expecting it to be this wild. There's a lot of like crazy wild stuff that happens, and like it keeps going wild and more wild. It's just like, hey, and they like test the lines each time, like in the regular chapters, because in the regular chapters like they test the line, but like I said, there's a bonus chapter at the end of each one where they are having sex. Yes, they are, like in the bonus chapters they are, but inside the chapters, like they're super close, always like super close to getting there, doing other type of stuff. So it is interesting because it's just like, I wonder like why they made this like virus in there, because like there's little stuff that explains it, but I'm just like, why? And like, who's the one that leaked it? Maybe if in another series, or maybe at the end of this series, when I finally catch up to it, maybe I'll find out like why this person had to leak it, whoever it did. But yeah, it's very interesting. It's a very wild series. It's probably like the wildest series I've ever read, because I mean, I have ecchis that I have, like I said, Trinity 7 is literally a ecchi type of manga or whatever. Like, what do you call it? I forget exactly what you call those type of manga, but yeah, it's a type of ecchi. But this is like the wildest one I've ever read. I don't think I'm ever going to read anything as wild as this. I didn't think this was going to be this wild, but hey, bro, it's very wild. Hey, it's like, it's very, very wild, bro. I was not expecting this. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy, like what all happens in this story. And like, it's not even that bad of a story. It's interesting. Like, if this ever got like an anime, just know it would be crazy, because like how much stuff happens in this. And like, I mean, it would get comparisons to Prison School, because like it's literally high school kids and other people in prison right now, so it would get like a comparison to that. But like the comparison gets like thrown away super fast as soon as you learn that the prison guards are trying to have sex with the people in prison. That's literally when like the line goes, and you're like, oh yeah, this is totally something different. But yeah, hey, check this series out if you want to see some wild ass shit, because it's very wild. But yeah, I don't think I'm ever going to read anything as wild as this. Like I've been saying, never, never, never. But hey, it is interesting. I have enjoyed it, but it's kind of one of those ones where it's like, I wonder why I enjoyed it. But yeah, hey, if you've ever read Destiny Lovers, put in the comments. Let me know how you feel about it. Let me know if you've ever just like peeked at a chapter of this. Because if you do, bruh, just look. Hey, look at a chapter right now. Go on the internet and look up a chapter right now, and you'll be like, damn, this is some wild shit. Just do that. But yeah, hey, let me know how you feel about Destiny Lovers in the comment. Let me know, bro, when you actually like look up a chapter and like what's your first reaction to it? Cause, bro, like I said, this shit is very like it's out of pocket, very out of pocket, cause it's something you're not expecting. I was not expecting this going into this. Like when I got this off of Amazon and like it came in the mail and I read it, I was like, oh, we're getting down like this. Cause like I did skim like a few chapters, like cause I got volume 4 first from Barnes and Noble, and I skimmed like a few. I just looked in it just to look, and I was like, oh, what is this? I was like, oh, I did not know I was ordering this. Hey, but yes, it's very wild. But hey, if you enjoyed the video, like. If you didn't, you can dislike, subscribe if you really enjoyed. Check out Destiny Lovers, but just be advised that you might see some wild ass shit. But yeah, hey, thank you for watching. I'll see you next video. Bye.